While the ZF 8-speed is an excellent automatic transmission, enthusiasts have been screaming through their keyboards for more manual cars, and screaming especially hard since the Supra got its manual 2 years ago, the sister car to this Z4. So now here in 2025, we're finally seeing a manual transmission. As always, I'm going to go through this car from the outside in, talk about what it's been like to live with for the past week. Let's go ahead, take a look. Now, if you want the manual transmission version of the Z4, this is not a case where you have to get the base model. In fact, it's the opposite. You have to get the top spec with the 3-liter engine and then get an extra $3,000 package on top of that. The package name is some German word that translates loosely to hand shift. I'm not going to butcher the word, but it's going to give you some exclusive things like this green color. This is the frozen green metallic, absolutely beautiful. It's sort of a matte green, looks really, really nice. This is another thing enthusiasts have been screaming through their keyboards for, is green over tan cars. Every time I release a Miata video about the new sand color or I mention their new colors at all, everyone is always asking for a green one. And here we finally have some more green cars, green over tan. If you don't like this frozen green metallic, which is actually another $3,000 on top of the already pretty high price here, then there's also a San Remo green, which is not a matte color. That one's going to be a little bit more glossy. And if you really want to be bold, there's also a purple color, but that one is available in both manual and automatic. But now if you see a green Z4 on the road, you know that that one is a stick. In addition to that hand shift package and the 3-liter engine here, this one also has the Shadowline package, the premium package, and the driver's assist package. We'll go through what all of that is as we go through this car here, but that puts us at right around $77,000 for this one. So getting pretty spendy here, especially when you compare the Supra at around 50 to 55. Underneath the hood here, as I mentioned, you have to get the bigger motor if you want the manual transmission. So this is going to be a tried and true, a proven and stout motor here. The B58 is a 3-liter twin scroll turbo inline-six. It's going to make 382 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque if you look at the spec sheet. But in real life, if you want to put this thing on a dyno, it's going to make a lot more than that. BMW always sort of sandbags those numbers a little bit, and it's going to go 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds, on par with the Supra. But again, I think once the tests start coming out for this, you're going to see it doing 0 to 60 a lot quicker than that 4.2 seconds. And surprisingly, this only weighs about 100 pounds more than the Supra, even with all the added luxury features and all the gear you need to actuate the top, though it does lose the actual hard top, so that saves a little bit of weight there. But I am surprised to hear that it is only about 100 pounds more, so that's good news. This is such a beautiful looking car, probably the best looking BMW still in the lineup here for 2024 and 2025. But this one is going to be 170 inches overall, so nice and compact, actually a couple inches shorter than the Supra, and still have that nice compact wheelbase of 97 inches on that one. And when you get this hand shift package with the manual transmission, you also get different sized wheels. So not only are you going to get the regular sort of staggered setup you usually get with a rear drive car, you have the wider tires in the back to get you more grip. You actually have a bigger wheel in the back, so you've got 19s on the front and 20s on the back, and it's going to be wrapped in Michelin Pilot Super Sports. These tires have really been great even through the rain that I've had over the last week here, so really nice in dry or wet conditions. And it's going to be sitting on these two-tone wheels here, which are new for 2025 as well, and you get the red brake calipers with that M logo on it, all part of this hand shift package. And you got some venting going on through here for those brakes, the gloss black mirrors and the gloss black trim because of that shadow line package. LED turn signals in here, so if you're somebody that has a BMW and you like to use turn signals, I know there aren't a lot of you out there, but you do have that LED turn signal through there. And when you use the touch to lock here, or when you lock it up on the key, those will power fold, blind spot monitoring in there, rear cross traffic alert. For the top, you get a couple of different options that are both black. You get this one, the standard black, or there is a moonlight black, which is kind of like a more of a grayish color, but looks really nice with the black here. Really just a great looking car overall, nice and compact, even looks good with the top up. A lot of times roadsters don't look great with the soft top up. This one looks great top up, top down, either way. The front end looks great here as well. They haven't gone crazy with the kidneys yet, and well, they probably won't, since rumors are going around that this thing is going to be dead in a couple of years. Rather unfortunate, especially since they just added that manual. But nice open cooling through here, cooling through there. Nice real cooling over there, cooling through here. This is all real cooling. This over here is fake though. Fake vents for fake air just all the way on the edges. Parking sensors across the front are going to be part of that driver's assist package, so that is not a standard thing. All the gloss black around here, the gloss black trim, as well as the gloss black around the lights here, going to be part of that extended shadow line package. The shadow line package, the regular shadow line package, actually gets you the adaptive LED headlights, so these are going to corner with you, which is a great feature. I always love to see that, and that's not a bunch extra. It's only about $550 extra to get that shadow line package, so I would definitely recommend having that for those nighttime drives. But really great looking front end. Did a good job keeping it aggressive but classy. Back end looks really nice as well. Got this sort of subtle lip going on, not really a wing, so not a true sports car if you believe my daughter's logic here. Got the black badges on here with the M40i, because you have to get the M40i when you get the Z4 with the manual transmission. LED taillights, parking sensors across the back. Of course, we've got a backup cam. We do have nice big exhaust tips here with the dark chrome because of that shadow line package. And you can grab right under here to open the back if you don't want to use the key. This opens up into, it's actually a decent amount of space here, not quite as much as the Supra, because the Supra does have the lift back that goes all the way through, though you do have a little bit of a pass through here. But obviously they had to take a little bit of the space away here because you do have that convertible top, which needs to be stored somewhere. So you lose a little bit of space there. Not too much going on back here. Access to the lights over on the sides, access to the battery underneath the floor here, and no spare. Wouldn't expect a spare in this. You just get the fix-a-flat kit. And then you've got a couple of handles on the sides here to close this up. And if you do want to use the key to open this up, you got a nice simple key. Got the sort of M logo going on the side. Just lock, unlock, and pop the trunk. But beyond that, you can use the unlock button here. If you want to hit that and hold it down, then you can pop the top off using that unlock button. And that'll open it up in about 10 seconds, which is pretty quick, especially since the SL that was just in last week felt like it took forever. It took a lot longer than this one. The 10 seconds is pretty solid. You could do that up to 30 miles an hour. Now with the key, obviously, it's probably not going 30 miles an hour if you're standing outside of it with the key, but you can open that top while you're going up to 30 miles an hour. And then if you want to close it up, say you got out of the car and you forgot to close it, just hold down the lock button here, and that will close right up. And you don't have to hit it a second time to get the windows going up. You just keep holding it down, and then those windows will come up as soon as the top is finished. For the inside of this Z4 here, you know, it's clearly, like, based on the layout, it's the same as the Supra, but the materials and everything else, there's a lot in here that just feels way nicer than the Supra, as it should. It's a Z4, it costs a lot more money. It's got a BMW badge on it, even if the Supra is technically still a BMW underneath. This one has the BMW badge. It looks nicer, it feels nicer. Everything about this interior, except for one thing, is nicer, and that one thing is the gloss black all through here. If you get this hand shift package with the manual transmission, you have to get the gloss black. I'm guessing somebody at BMW was pissed that they had to put the manual back in here and decided no aluminum trim, no carbon fiber trim. If you get in the manual, you're stuck with fingerprints and scratchy scratches all over the place and dust all over the place. And that is your punishment for getting a manual. I would still do it because it's worth it to row your own gears. But just like, why is the center console available with carbon fiber in the Supra and not available here in the Z4, which is supposed to be nicer? But outside of that, everything, you know, you've got the cognac Vernasca leather here. There are a couple of different Vernasca leather options here for the BMW Z4, but when you get that upgraded package with the manual, your only choices are Vernasca leather. You can't even get the Sensitech, which is like the synthetic. So, and this one is one of the exclusive ones. It's got this like blue stitching through the seats. See, we got this little M logo across here. Now, if you pay close attention, there are two different cognac interiors. This one, you'll notice a black center console and black through the doors here. There is another one that has a cognac through the doors as well, and a cognac center console. So you got to pay close attention there if you're looking at the cognac interior. But there are like 5 different color options. There's a black on black if you just want to keep it simple, but you know, a green over tan car is, you know, peak car enthusiast. Nice big beefy M steering wheel. I love the way BMW does their big thick steering wheels. Easy to use buttons here. Heated steering wheel button right there in the middle, easy to access, but you won't hit it accidentally. We got buttons and switches all across here. Your heated seats are easy to get to. Your HVAC is all easy to control. Nice physical buttons down here, physical knob for your volume, and your infotainment here is iDrive 7. So this is an upgrade from the one in the Supra. BMW stuck the Supra with iDrive 6, doesn't even have Android Auto, even if you want to plug in. This one has Android Auto wireless, so I'm glad to have that as an Android user. And easy to use, you know, you got all your vehicle settings in here, your driving modes. You can adjust your driving modes, whether you want to have gear shift assist, which is your rev matching, or you know, your damping, your engine. You can adjust all kinds of stuff through here. You can adjust your displays, you can adjust your driver's assist settings, and then you've got your wireless Android Auto through here as well, with music coming out of this thing from the Harman Kardon 3D sound system. If you option it, this one has that upgrade. It's a pretty nice sound system. It's not like high end, but it's pretty decent here, especially convertible. Not super quiet in here, so you lose a little bit if you get a super high end sound system anyway. So this really, it fits the bill pretty well here. But again, this particular sound system is an additional option here, as is the wireless charger down here. That's going to be an additional option. USB-A, cigarette lighter. Traction control is nice and easy to use. If you don't want to control the infotainment through the touchscreen, you do have the knob and button system down here, as always with BMW. So I like that they give you the option there to choose which way you want to interact with the infotainment. Traction control, drive modes here. Your auto start stop is easy to turn off. Still a little bit strange to have with the manual, but works pretty seamlessly. Physical button for opening and closing the top here. Looking at you, Mercedes, with your little slider touch thing. And your cup holders are inside of here. For some reason, there's a USB-C in there as well, and a little bit of extra space. But this is really annoying. Cup holders are always a problem with a manual transmission, or like 90% of the time. You'd think we would have figured this out by now, but I think the fact that the manual came so much later in this car, like everything else was already designed, you didn't want to move the cup holders around, I'm guessing. But having a cup in here and trying to shift while you have this open is really kind of annoying. So can't drive with a cup if you buy the stick. We've got the gauge cluster through here. Not as versatile, not as customizable as most of BMW's gauge clusters. Usually they give you a lot of different information in there. You can sort of customize it pretty granularly. It still looks really nice, still has all the nice colors, still looks way better than the one in the Supra, and actually uses up the full space instead of having a bunch of dead space on the side like the one in the Supra. I do wish you had an option for the big tack in the middle, though. That would be nice, having the manual here. But you always have the tack available, always have the speed, you got your speed limit, you got speed limit, temperature, your range, all the stuff that you need, current gear, everything that you need on a daily basis. And I can actually see everything even with the wheel set for where I like to have it, which is usually a big problem. Usually the whole top is cut off for me in most cars. And then this one has the heads-up display, which is optioned. It's not standard on this, but you've even got the tack in the heads-up display, which is really nice, a horizontal tack, current speed limit, any driver's assist stuff that you've got. Memory seats over here on the side. These are power adjustable. It's got thigh extensions, got bolster adjustments. You can adjust the bolster. It seems like a little thing, but I love it when a car lets you adjust the bolsters, especially something like this. Most of the time you're just cruising around, and then maybe you want to throw it around a little harder. You can tighten up the bolsters a little bit, hold you in a little bit better. Heated, not ventilated, lumbar support and adjustable bolsters. Love that. A little bit of extra storage space back there, not much. Really pretty nice interior. It's just this gloss black in here is bugging me so much. When you opt for the manual transmission Z4, you get unique chassis tuning, you get these auxiliary springs in the front and rear, you get updated software for the rear suspension, or tweaked software for the rear suspension, as well as for the steering. Are these things you're really going to notice if you're not driving it back-to-back? Probably not, but it is worth noting there. And of course you're going to get a third pedal. That one you probably will notice the difference whether it has a third pedal or not. But unsurprisingly, this drives quite a bit like a Supra, but softer. And at first the enthusiast in me was like, a coupe is just better, and it's stiffer suspension, like, yeah, it beats you up more, but it's better for handling. And once I sort of got over myself a little bit, I really started to settle in and enjoy this car a lot more. Like, yeah, it's a bit softer, which makes it way better for daily driving. It's actually a pretty comfortable ride considering how short the wheelbase is, and just like a roadster like this that's got a little bit of performance to it, and BMW in general kind of, their more performance-oriented cars are a little on the rough side, but especially coming out of that SL last week, I'm pretty surprised at the ride quality. This is pretty easy to live with, pretty easy to daily drive. And being able to have the top down is certainly not hurting anything, especially on the nice days here, though it has been quite rainy. And at first I thought the gearbox was really pretty rubbery and kind of loose, sort of that typical BMW feel, like the M4 I was super disappointed in. And even this one, when I first drove it a month or so ago, I felt like it was a little bit loose and it felt kind of rubbery, but I had just come out of a Civic Type R and an Integra Type S, which have some of the tightest gearboxes available at the moment. So I think that some of that might have led to me feeling like this was a little looser than it was. It's also possible, there were a lot of other people driving it that maybe weren't so used to driving manual transmissions, and so maybe like the gearbox had gotten a little bit loose from people sort of ragging on it. But this is a lot tighter than I remember it being. It's really nice and easy to shift. It is still a little bit on the rubbery side, yeah, but for a car like this that's sort of a cruiser, it's not the end of the world here. And the clutch feel is a little bit on the heavy side, but it's not so heavy you can't live with it day to day. It's heavy enough that it's got some feel to it, and it feels like you're working for it a little bit when you do start to push it. I mentioned it drives a lot like the Supra in a lot of ways, and the steering is one way where you can really tell it really feels a lot like the Supra does. It's a little bit loose in the middle, not super communicative, but it's pretty direct. Like once you get into it, once you get moving, you feel pretty confident in the steering. It's just not the tightest, most buttoned up steering available, and it's definitely not super communicative, but that's sort of been a BMW thing for quite a while. And I have noticed I was able to get it to understeer a little bit. You know, if you're pushing it really hard, coming out of the corner really hard, I have gotten it to understeer a little bit, but it only happened maybe once or twice. So really, it has held its line pretty well for me. I haven't had it oversteer on me when I didn't want it to, anything like that. So really, it holds its line pretty well, even on these Pilot Super Sports. The Pilot Super Sport tires on this are like the precursor to the Pilot Sport 4S's. So, you know, I sort of wish they would have put the 4S's on, just because those are like the better tire, the better performance tire. But like, these Pilot Super Sports have been really pretty good here. And of course, we've got this B58 motor, this inline-six. It pulls great. I mean, this thing, you can bring it all the way up through into redline. It's got like a 6800 redline, not super high, but you know, it's you really can feel it pull all the way through, which is one of the best things about this engine. There are no dips in torque, no dips in power as you're going up through the rev band. But realistically, you can only do that in like second gear, maybe into third. You can get up into like 3,000-4,000 RPM, but at that point you're going pretty quick. So if you're not on the track, you might get into some trouble, especially with that turbo, because once the boost kicks in, you know, you really get, you know, your peak is like 1,800 RPM for your torque, and so it really, you know, it starts to pull early and it pulls all the way through. So definitely have to watch out for going a little bit too quickly there, but feels great when you start to push it. Another thing BMW does really well is throttle response. There's really like no lag at all once you hit the gas pedal. So like once you're in gear, you're going, you are moving, and they do a good job of sort of mitigating the turbo lag too. Like obviously there has to be turbo lag. It's got a turbo, but you really don't feel it. So BMW works their magic with that turbo, and really it does not feel like it lags at all. All that together means like you have this confident feeling of, you know, when I need to move, I can move now, especially when you pop it into sport mode. And it also makes it a lot easier if you want to heel toe, if you want to rev match your downshifts. It does have the gear shift assist, which is BMW's version of rev matching, and that works fine. And if you put it in a comfort mode, then it'll do that automatically. But I like to leave it in the sport individual mode, where I can turn that off, and then still have the steering on the heavier side, still have the chassis on the stiffer side. So nice and easy to heel toe based on how responsive it is, as well as the pedal positioning. The pedal positioning is great for heel towing as well. And in my Supra video, I mentioned the brakes. The brakes feel the same as the Supra, again, sort of unsurprisingly. They are confident, you know, once you get into them, they will get you stopped quickly. I feel like BMW usually has brakes that are a little bit grabbier, and I prefer something that's a little bit grabbier, but honestly, that's a little bit nitpicky, and it's a little bit more of personal preference, because they still get you stopped perfectly fine once you get into the brake pedal. For visibility here, you do lose a little bit of visibility from the Supra, which is, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of visibility to lose. Out the back, it's still this sort of tiny pinhole, and now you have a mesh windscreen back there as well, with this being the convertible. But out the side, this B-pillar is nice and thick because it has to deal with that convertible, which is par for the course for a convertible. Of course, it has the blind spot monitoring, where it has the little indicator in the mirrors there on the side, but this one actually has the active safety assist package on top of just what you get standard. So it'll also like beep at you if you turn your turn signal on while there's somebody in the way, or like in the lane next to you. It has like pedestrian monitoring, it has forward collision braking, it has like some extra driver's assist feature stuff that'll help sort of avoid accidents. That stuff has not gotten in my way at all. Lane departure, the like lane shove assist, though it's toned way down. You don't want it to get in the way when you're just like trying to enjoy the car or in your day-to-day driving. And so they did a great job with that. It has regular cruise control as well as speed limit cruise control, so you can set it to whatever the speed limit is. And that's worked fine. There's no radar cruise on this, unfortunately, unless you get the automatic transmission. At $80,000, there are other companies out there that are offering cheaper cars with adaptive cruise control with a manual transmission, but not the end of the world here. The only other note about like the safety driver's assist stuff I have is like it has those parking sensors I mentioned, but on the front and the back, but it's more just a distance control thing. Gives you like these little lines to tell you how far away things are. It doesn't have the top down view. It doesn't have the full 360 view. It has a backup camera, of course. The backup camera works great, but I wish that it had like the actual 360 view, especially at this price point and a sort of more luxury type car. It seems like that would be a nice thing to have here, but honestly, distance control stuff works fine. With this being a roadster, it's loud. You kind of expect it to be loud in here. It's pretty loud in here. It has the soft top. If it hadn't been for that SL that I was in last week, I would have just assumed pretty much any convertible was going to be loud, but that one was surprisingly quiet. But here, sort of par for the course. Of course, where that noise is going to be especially noticeable is here as I get on the highway here. It's starting to get pretty loud in here. But another thing I noticed on the highway, I'm cruising about 2,500 RPM in 6th gear at 70 miles an hour. That's not too bad. I could use a little bit more length at the top end of the gearing, but honestly, it's geared pretty well for like a good mix of daily driving and spirited driving. I think they did a good job sort of finding that balance. I think the gearing is short enough when you are sort of starting to push it, you can bring it out and really still be going through a couple of those bottom gears. But when you're daily driving, it is pretty easy. You're not like constantly shifting necessarily. So I think they did a pretty good job with the balance here in the gearing. Well, I had been hoping for a manual Z4. I had also kind of written it off a little bit, even after I drove it the first time about a month ago. You know, I do prefer a coupe usually. I prefer something a little bit more hardcore when you're going around the corners, especially those hard corners, those tight, twisty roads. The shifter feel is still a little bit of that BMW rubberiness, but the more I drive this car, the more I like it. It's a great street car. It's comfortable. You can easily daily drive this. You can easily take this on a long trip as long as you're not carrying too much stuff around. Then once you want to push it, yeah, it's a little bit softer, a little bit floatier in the corners than the Supra is, or than something a little bit more hardcore, but it still can handle those corners very, very well. You can still ring out a couple of those gears, especially those lower gears. You're gonna end up going to jail if you're ringing out the top gears. But it's comfortable and fun. It really balances that very, very well. Plus you get the enthusiast spec green over tan here. I wish that you could get something other than gloss black on the inside, but hopefully there's some aftermarket solutions. You can put in some carbon fiber or something there, but just really a wonderful car overall. And while we're pushing 80 grand here, that is quite a bit of money, but look around at the luxury roadster segment and find me another manual transmission car that you can get brand new for $80,000. There really isn't anything else out there in this segment. As always, thanks for watching. If you have any comments, anything that I missed, anything you disagree with, anything you agree with, let me know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.